We're gonna go into the watch market update because this is what you guys pay for, and we're gonna give it to you the way it is. I'm gonna give it to you, ladies and gentlemen. I've been telling you for some time that Richard Mille watches are dead in water. You know, Richard Mille watches is what Alain Cyberstein was at one moment. You had that producer from Miami. Stefan Emilio. Stefan Gloria. They were masters buying that Cyberstein watch, and then they let that one go, and they went into um, Frank Mueller. Frank Mueller. Then they went to Jacob, and then Hublot. All these watches, and now we have Richard Mille. And ladies and gentlemen, Richard Mille está it's over. Está descojonado. I mean, if you were banking on that, on that watch, you're in some trouble. You are in some trouble. And I'm going to talk to you about a watch that's called the Richard Mille RM6101 Johann, black, fully black, like Ed Harris's, hat. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. Entonces terminó, papi. Entonces terminó. There's no more space for these toy watches. It's no more, or it's gold or something unbelievable, but none of this, I don't want to hear about, that it has a material of NTP, STP, STD. I think STD stands for STD, lo que la mujer coge, STD, lo que la mujer, the woman gets STD. They have all these materials, like I said, STP, STD, NTP, whatever it is. This is the Johann Blake. 100 pieces were made on this watch, ladies and gentlemen. Unbelievable. Fully, it's an unbelievable watch. And this watch, ladies and gentlemen, was over $550,000. And this thing is dropping faster than Billy Boy's pants in an Arkansas farmhouse, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to tell you the retail because it's already under retail, ladies and gentlemen. So there's no need for that no more. But I am going to tell you, all these lollipop suckers and cow tippers and possum kickers out there, Richard Mille watches are dead. And I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that Richard Mille RM6101 Johann Blake. 100 pieces worldwide. 100 pieces. Unbelievable. That gentleman from Beverly Hills, I call him Toupee Wig Man. He's like 80 years old. He wears flower shirts, skin tight pink, jeans, pointy green shoes, purple belt. He had that watch. He was going crazy with that watch. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you, don't pay for that watch. You do yourself a favor and protect yourself from getting fleeced and flim flam. It was over $550,000. Unbelievable. Don't pay more than $211,000 and bang! Unbelievable. Stay away from Richard Mille watches. Vas a perder la casa. You're going to lose your house. I know what I'm telling you. The next one, ladies and gentlemen, is another one, a big boy watch. Richard Mille. Unbelievable, these Richard Mille watch. They call this watch the baby Nadal. The Nadal, that el tenista, el español de España, Spain, tennis player, ya sabe, ¿verdad? Tennis player, It's unbelievable. Richard Mille RM035, baby Nadal. This is an unbelievable, aluminum alloy, skeletonized. It's an unbelievable watch. If I tell you the price that this watch was going for at one moment, you're not going to believe me. So I'm not going to tell you because you're not going to believe me. Sí, como $700,000. Sí, 700,000. Exacto. Saying like $700,000. I don't know, but it can be that too. But I'm going to tell you, don't pay for that baby Nadal. You do whatever you want. Does anybody know what I'm going to say for you not to pay for that baby Nadal? Don't be a cow tipper. That's right. Stop being possum kickers. Stop being possum kickers, ladies and gentlemen. Voice it out. This is my new catchphrase. This is my new catchphrase. And you're going to hear every single watch channel say now cow tipper and possum kicker. Sweet Kikino is the brains behind this channel. But don't pay for that baby Nadal. Don't pay more than $164,000 and dumping. Uno más, ¿verdad? Uno más. Dumping. ¿Verdad? Dumping. one more. He's dead. Richard Mille watches are dead, ladies and gentlemen. You know, ladies and gentlemen, we have another Richard Mille. We have a Richard Mille RM11. Roberto Mancini. You ever heard of Mancini? This is unbelievable. This Roberto Mancini, it's an unbelievable. It's a figure, all this guy, that Richard Mille was always looking for people, Formula One drivers, tennis players, soccer coaches, soccer players, all that kind of stuff. But that's over. Watch Mikey dead. And Richard Mille watches are dead in water, floating in a backyard pool like this. Dead. You do whatever you want, ladies and gentlemen, but the watch market is dead. And this Roberto Mancini was being sold and was being paraded in all those watch shows, that will come from Mexico, Colombia, like that. It's unbelievable. They will call that watch, what they will call Richard Mille watches? They will call it the money transfer wristwatch. Money transfer. You get on a plane and you transfer $450,000, $500,000. I bet you guys didn't know that either, huh? I bet you guys didn't know that Richard Mille watches were being used as, wire transfer wristwatches. Now, you didn't know that, right? You know who told me that? You know who showed me that? Sweet Kick Kino, the brains behind this channel. Muy inteligente, papi. He fixed his hat, It gives me power. I talk to you guys. Richard Mille watches was to money transfer money around the whole world. You got in a plane with your family of 5. You put a Richard Mille on your wrist. You put a Richard Mille on your wife. You put a Richard Mille on your daughter, a Richard Mille on your son, and a Richard Mille on your maid, your housemaid. And you will land. You will land from Dubai and JFK in New York. And you will get down out of the plane, right through customs, and all that with $6 million in watches. And you will go to 47th Street, the Diamond District, and just let him go there. And buy your son an apartment in the city and send him to NYU or Columbia. Bet you guys didn't know that, huh? You guys didn't know that. I make it funny for you guys. I make it nice so you guys can relax. Do I drop knowledge? Just show me. Give me a thumbs up if I drop knowledge or not. Come on, tell me. I'm gonna drink a little water. Or give me a thumbs up. Oh, sorry, not papi. Tan perdido. Tan perdido. It's the money transfer watch, papi. I'm telling you, it's the money transfer watch. And that Roberto Mancini was at one moment $500,000. You know what $500,000 is? You guys don't know what $500,000 is? You Google it, because I'm not going to tell you. It was at one moment $500,000. And ladies and gentlemen, you can't even get off no more in JFK Airport in New York City and go to 47th Street no more, because that watch doesn't cost $500,000 no more. Don't pay for that watch, and you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want, ladies and gentlemen. Listen and learn. I'm telling you what these watches were used for. It's the underworld. Unbelievable. These people don't believe me. You guys don't believe me because I just make jokes. I'm a joke. They see me as a comedian. But inside my comedian, I'm telling you so many truths that you guys can't handle it. Remember the movie, You Just Can't Handle the Truth. That's who you guys are. Because you guys are a bunch of possum kickers and cow tippers and window lickers and tomato cans and crumb bums. But don't pay for that Roberto Mancini. Don't pay more than $137,000 and bang! Dead. And Palmolive dish lickers. That's right. That's what I got to tell you. The only one that's going to drop you. Listen, if you want to become a dealer, a watch dealer, you don't have to pay no memberships out there to these, to those people out there, this guy, that guy. You come to our channel, we give it to you for free. We give it to you for free. Now you know what Richard Mille watches were used for. Richard Mille and his partner, they found the right place. They went to Asia and over there. You know how many billionaires are in Asia? Like 1,140 billionaires. And those people don't like to pay taxes. They don't like to pay taxes. So they put on a Richard Mille on the wrist and fly from Dubai, from where? From where, like wherever it is, to JFK to 47th Street, and here's the watch. I pay you. And those days are over, Bobby. They're over.